Welcome to Education Matters, presented by the Public School Forum of North Carolina. I'm your host, Marianne Wolf. It's back to school season, and today we're here to discuss the year ahead. Today we'll hear from school administrators and school board members with some hopes, goals, and advice for the coming school year. We will be joined by Dr. Shanessa Fenner, the principal of W.T. Brown Elementary School in Cumberland County, Dr. Patrick Green, the principal of Greene Central High School in Greene County, Dr. Aaron Fleming, superintendent of Harnett County Schools, and Ronnie Dossi, the school board chair of the Chapel Hill-Carrboro City Schools Board of Education. Thank you so much for joining us. We are so pleased today to be joined by Dr. Shanessa Fenner, principal of W.T. Brown Elementary School in Cumberland County, and Dr. Patrick Green, principal of Greene Central High School in Greene County. Thank you both for joining us. Patrick, across North Carolina, most of our educators and students are in back to school mode. What are you thinking about as this school year kicks off?
So I think we're all just excited about new beginnings, about new opportunities. It's good to not be talking about everything post-COVID for the first time in a while. So I think we're just thinking about getting back to new goals and not escaping old things.
I love it. Shanessa, what's on your mind?
Well, I'm excited for the babies to come back. I miss them. I can't wait to see them. Of course, we can't wait to dive into those standards and build those beautiful relationships with them. And also, I want them to bond with their teachers and get to know the parents very well. And we have a lot of great events and great things planned for this year at W.T. Brown.
Wonderful. I can feel the energy from both of you. Patrick, as a high school principal preparing students to transition through the K-12 system and on to their future pathways, what are some of the priorities for you and your staff?
I think for us, it's getting to know the 800 kids that are in our school, because each kid has a different set of needs and a different goal for what happens to them after high school. And our biggest job is to know what that goal is, know how that goal changes over the 4 years of high school, and then how to get them to where they want to be. And, you know, one size doesn't fit all for anybody anymore, especially in schools. So having that personal understanding of every student and what they want and what they need to get there is essential to making that goal happen.
Thank you so much. And Shanessa, as you're thinking about having the younger students, do you have particular areas of focus?
Yes, of course. I want to first and foremost focus on those relationships, getting to know our babies, getting to know them in intricate detail, know their strengths, know the areas that we need to work on, get to know every little thing about them so that we can teach them better. I've always talked with my teachers about the importance of doing those getting to know you activities, letting the babies know that you care. And the more that you know about them and they feel that authenticity from you, they will give and do their very best.
Wonderful. I love your focus that you both have on understanding your students. Now, Shanessa, studies have shown that students can benefit from having educators whom they identify with. Do you think being a woman of color has impacted how you lead as a principal?
Yes, it has impacted me. As a Black female leader, it is important for students to see, of course, their principal that looks like them. My school is basically minority, and not only they need Black teachers as well to identify with them. I love when my little Black girls tell me now, I want to be a principal just like you, Dr. Fenner. And it's very important, Marianne, to also teach them to love the skin that they're in. You know, there's so many stereotypes about our Black babies. So I want them to love the skin that they're in, know that they're valued, know that they're worthy, know that they're important, and they can do anything that they put their mind to.
Thank you. And Patrick, I'm curious how you're really helping your teachers be prepared this year.
So yeah, it's every year understanding that you've got a whole new set of beginning teachers, people who are new to our rural community, who may not know and understand the people within it yet. So it's a lot of introductions of students to teachers, teachers to students, and getting them all to understand and appreciate the backgrounds that our students come from and the challenges that they face, but also the successes that they've had, and know that foundation is there for them to build on. So that's really what school culture is all about. It's the ocean we swim in every day and everything that makes it up. So anytime we introduce new people to that, it's getting them to swim in that ocean and live in that culture so that they can be successful too.
Just listening to both of you, I can sense the cultures in your buildings. But I know there's also challenges that not just the last few years, but especially the last few years have created. And I'm just curious, Patrick, what challenges are you thinking about right now?
We still continue to have challenges with hiring for teachers. Our hallmark has always been personalization. In a small rural community, we get to know our people, we care about our people, we take care of our people a lot more interpersonally than some bigger districts can. So we lean on that pretty well. But getting people in the door and wanting to be excited about teaching is more difficult now than ever before. So we're having to be creative in who we look to. And when you bring in people from non-traditional education backgrounds, that means they need even more support than they would have needed as a traditional beginning teacher out of a ed prep program. So that falls on us and district leaders to provide that level of support, to build them up so that we can keep them and make them successful in their classrooms.
And Patrick, you're definitely not alone. We're hearing about that across the state, just trying to get enough teachers, enough highly qualified teachers in the classrooms. And while it varies district to district, it seems to be pervasive in all of our counties across the state. Shanessa, what is your experience with bringing teachers in, but also other challenges you might be facing this year?
Yes, it is a challenge to bring teachers in. Other challenges that, of course, are on the forefront of my thoughts all the time would be the academic level of my babies. My teachers and my instructional coach and my assistant principal and I are always planning, having those effective PLCs, and planning that strategic work and small group instructions for my babies. So we always have the task of meeting the babies where they are and bringing them up to where they need to be. But we want to make sure that that instruction is strategic and it's laser-like, and of course, it's personalized for our babies.
Thank you. And Patrick, you're wrapping up your time as our state principal of the year. And we were just curious, what did you learn? Because I know in that experience, you visited a lot of schools and met with a lot of principals.
I did. And what it has taught me is that successful classrooms look the same everywhere. I spent a lot of time, I've always worked in high school as a high school teacher, a high school assistant principal, and always been a high school principal, but I spent a lot of time in elementary classrooms. And I see that everything that they do with small group instruction and individualized instruction in those classrooms is 100% translatable to a 17-year-old in a high school math class. So there's a lot that can be learned from each other and how we deliver instruction, but good instruction looks the same everywhere in every region, whether you're an urban or a rural school, you're affluent or in high need. You can find great educators meeting the needs of kids in all of those places.
I love that. And I've always seen the exact same thing. So in our last moment together, what gives you hope? Shanessa?
To see my babies' faces and to know that they can be whatever they want to be. They just light up the room when they walk in the building. And it just feels good to have an awesome staff at W.T. Brown Elementary School and to know that we're going to work together. We have that collective efficacy at our school, and we're going to do whatever we have to do to make sure that our babies are successful. So that gives me hope.
Again, I'm going to echo that the same in elementary schools looks the same in high schools. We look forward to seeing our students every year. We know that I have 191 seniors to welcome in on Monday, and I know that we will graduate 191 of them in June when we're done with this school year. And seeing them and knowing that this is their last first day of high school and celebrating each and every one of those moments along the way with them is just a tremendous joy to walk with them.
Well, Patrick, think of me because I have my youngest as a senior too. And I just want to share what gives me hope because I look at leaders like both of you who could do anything and have decided to devote their careers to education, to educators and students and families. And we are lucky. So thank you so much for what you do and all you're going to do this year. After the break, we will be joined by Harnett County School Superintendent, Dr. Aaron Fleming, and Chapel Hill's Scarborough City School Board of Education Chair, Ronnie Dossi.
Education Matters is brought to you each week in part by Participate Learning, uniting our world through global learning.
We are so honored today to be joined by two phenomenal leaders, Dr. Aaron Fleming, the superintendent of Harnett County Schools, and Ronnie Dossi, the chair of the Chapel Hill Scarborough City Schools Board of Education. Welcome to both of you. I'd love to hear from both of you about, as we kick off the school year next week, what is top of mind for you? Ronnie?
Well, thanks for the question, Marianne. I'm excited to be here, always interested in talking about education. I would say I'm excited what's going well. In the absence of state investment, we've seen our local communities really step up to support public schools. We've got strong teachers and school staff who care about students and are working really hard to meet student needs. And I'm hearing more about community engagement and advocating for increased resources to meet student needs. So I'm excited about that. In Chapel Hill Carborough City Schools, we're really proud of our student engagement and interest in learning, and how our young people are showing up to engage in advocacy, and how our teachers and staff and leaders are invested in continuing to improve our student outcomes, and really focusing on making sure our students, staff, community members, and all of us engaged in education are and feel safe in our schools.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Ronnie. Aaron, how about you?
Yeah, we're really excited in Harnett County to get ready for school as we continue to, of course, move beyond the pandemic. We really have a sense, as I've talked to principals today and even some teachers, about how they just feel really renewed over this past summer. For us to have a fresh start, to move forward, both academics, opportunities for students. We do have some new school buildings, and so we're very excited for what this school year has to begin. We do have some vacancies, just like several school districts. Most of ours are in bus drivers, are in support staff, child nutrition, teacher assistants, our custodial and maintenance areas. But we really are ready to go full force. And unfortunately, we do have to add some extra tasks until we can get all those positions filled.
So you bring up an issue I was hoping to talk a little bit about, because we are hearing about teacher vacancies being a bit persistent in recent years, and knowing that some school districts are continuing to struggle with those challenges. I'm just curious, how is that playing out along with these other vacancies that you mentioned in Harnett?
We've really had to step up our recruitment efforts. We've had to go some non-traditional routes with advertising nationally. You know, just a few years ago, we might have to go out of state to a job fair or two and try to recruit teachers, and we would be able to fill our vacancies that way. But we've had to go to some international staffing solutions. We've had to go to billboards and more, even phone calls. We've had to do a lot of different things in addition to those typical job fairs, and it has paid off, but it is harder to find teachers today.
Ronnie, one thing I wanted to talk a little bit with you about is Senate Bill 49, which was dubbed the Parents' Bill of Rights. I'm curious as to how you expect that will impact school operations.
Yeah, so we're still looking at the details of the legislation and how to implement that in our district. But what I will say is, I think I continue to be frustrated that our state is focusing on intruding in people's personal decisions at a time when we don't even have a state budget that's finals. We're starting schools. Most of the public schools return in Monday, and we don't have a budget. And so we don't know, to Dr. Fleming's point, what we will be able to pay our teachers and staff. And that's causing really significant challenges in recruitment and retention. And so I think it just continues to be very surprising why the legislature is choosing where they're focusing when there are so many other needs. I think, that kind of a bill is going to cause significant harm to our children and damage our state reputation. North Carolina has historically been known as a strong education state. And now the stories coming out about where we're focusing and where our legislature is putting their energy are not positive. And I think, as I talk to business leaders across the state, we're hearing challenges of having people want to come to North Carolina to live here and to be employees and to bring their children to be educated in the schools. And I just continue to be concerned about where they're focusing when we know what the needs are around investment in public education and teachers and social workers and psychologists and nurses and bus drivers and all of the needs that public schools have.
You bring up so many important issues. And I know one of those, as you mentioned, that's underlying is that we don't yet have a budget in our state. And I know from time when I served on a school board, just how challenging that was from a perspective of planning. And I'm curious, Aaron, how that plays out in your district, because you've also, just like every district in our state, had to start your fiscal year without a budget.
We did, and our students, our teachers are back, of course, and our students will start Monday. And on the operations side, not a whole lot has changed. We're able to use last year's allotments to open school, and with a continued state budget, we're able to operate school just fine. Probably the biggest challenge we're seeing right now is we do have new teachers asking what the raise for teachers will be and state employees will be. And while we somewhat have a range from the budgets, we really don't know the precise number. So we do operate off of last year's teacher pay scale, and we're hoping that, of course, those raises will kick in once the budget is passed and signed. But we right now are business as usual, and we'll hopefully here in a few weeks know what the final numbers are.
Very helpful. Thank you for sharing that. And Ronnie, we know that you have chosen to seek another term with the Chapel Hill Carrboro City School Board after already serving. This is, I believe, your 8th year. And we're just curious, what drives you to do that?
Education is so fundamental to solving a lot of community issues, Marianne, and I've always had a deep interest in being involved in the process to support students, support families, and support our community health. And so as I think about what's before us with response, how do we respond in this environment of uncertainty around funding and support for public schools? I want to make sure that my voice continues to be in that conversation. I want to bring my experience to that conversation. I also think there are 4 seats open on our board. There is some value and some continuity in helping to continue to move our strategic plan, helping to make the necessary decisions to really build the structures to support students in the Chapel Hill Carrboro City schools and beyond, because we really care about students across the state. So it's not just that we want our kids to do well. Our kids are all the state kids, and we want them all to be successful.
That's very, very important and helpful. Aaron, we so appreciate the leadership you bring and your, I think, calm and patient approach to all the work. And I know that you must draw on a lot of hope, right, to put all the effort it takes to be a superintendent. And we've seen tremendous turnover this year in the superintendency. So I didn't know if you had any comments on leadership turnover in general. And then I want to make sure we also end on what is that big source of hope for you?
Yeah, and there has it's certainly a stressful job, as people say. It has its days, but we here in Harnett County particularly know that we have so much to look forward to. We have a lot of opportunities coming into the county. We're growing, and really what gives me hope is knowing that every day we have an opportunity to prepare students to become productive citizens no matter what they do. And we've got a real big push, one, to have, when our students do graduate high school, have them come on back and teach in Harnett County. But even if they don't, we want them to come back home or stay within the growing Triangle region and the growing Sandhills region. And so really that's what every day when I wake up, the first thing I really do think about is, wow, we're able to provide so many opportunities that I know others would like to have in North Carolina, across the country, and really across the world. And so that's what gives me hope. But sure, they're going to be tough days. And I hope, I think I'm starting now my 7th year here in Harnett County, which is hard to believe. But I think about how many more things I still have to check off that list while I have that opportunity to be here. And so I'm very fortunate to have the leadership and the staff in this school district we have, and we're able to serve our students.
I knew it had been a bit, but I hadn't realized it was starting your 7th year. So that's phenomenal. And Ronnie, I'm going to let you end us with what brings you hope as we go into the school year.
I would say what brings me hope is the children. As a parent of 4, I have deep interest in how education works for all children. And again, thinking about those connections that we have to each other, not just my children, but all the children. And so when I see how interested they are in education, and despite the issues that adults are presenting to them, they continue to focus on what's in front of them. And I think we could all take a lesson from that, and that gives me hope. And I would also say, looking at people like Aaron, continuing to do the work to educate students in really challenging environments with high uncertainty, and our teachers and staff, and our superintendent, Dr. Nair Hamlet, and her strong leadership, all of that gives me hope that we've got the right people in place to make changes around education in North Carolina.
Well, thank you both. I always say getting to work in education is such a gift with the people, and grateful for both of you, and hope that this beginning to the school year is just a tremendous kickoff for a great year. So thank you both for joining us.
Thank
Thanks
you for
so much,
having me
Marianne.
in. Yeah, and continuing your work to support education.
Thank you. After the break, this week's final word. Parents and research tell us again and again that they care about the safety and mental health of their children first and foremost, and they care about their public schools. One of the most central purposes of our state government is to support a strong system of public schools that will pave the way for a strong democracy, society, and economy. Yet over the past few weeks alone, we've heard so many proposed bills, recommended ideas, and other rhetoric that seems to forget that why. All the while, we do not have a state budget. So each and every one of our 116 school districts started their fiscal year on July 1, and now the school year, without a firm budget in place. Kids matter. It is in the best interest of every North Carolina resident to invest in our children, our families, and our communities. Teachers matter. Teachers are the #1 school-related factor influencing student outcomes. We have an unprecedented shortage of teachers across our state, affecting public, charter, and private schools alike. Last year, there were over 5,000 public school educator vacancies, impacting thousands and thousands of students. Despite the amazing efforts and impact of our teachers, our pipeline is dwindling and will not come close to meeting the demand. Yet North Carolina's beginning teachers make $37,000 on the state salary schedule. In May, the North Carolina Senate proposed a budget that only includes a 4.5% average raise over 2 years, with only $250 for our teachers with 15 or more years of experience. While the budgets presented by the North Carolina House and Governor have stronger compensation proposals, the final budget has yet to be passed by the legislature, and the recommended conference compensation has not yet been shared. Budgets matter. No business would start the fiscal year without a budget. Yet once again, our school districts are beginning their year without a budget. They do not know how much money they will have, but they are expected to be prepared to serve every child. Uncertainty around funding hampers school districts' ability to hire staff, update curriculum, and implement programs that ensure our students' success. School districts are multi-million-dollar enterprises and often the largest employer in each county. Yet they must go into the year without full knowledge of what they can spend to educate their children, which is further complicated by the cliff from COVID relief. This summer, North Carolina was yet again ranked #1 in business by CNBC. No doubt our current workforce benefited from stronger investment in and support of public education in decades past. We cannot expect our state's economy to continue to thrive if we are going backwards in efforts to educate our children. Neglecting our public schools not only compromises the future of our children, but also undermines our state's ability to compete on a national and global level. As other states continue to invest in their public schools, North Carolina risks falling behind. We must unite in our commitment to a high-quality education for all kids that leads us to a prosperous future for our state. Kids matter. Thank you for taking time with us to learn and think about education. That's all for today, and we'll see you next week.